Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to let you know that this webinar is recorded, and so we'll be sharing the recording with you afterwards. And then second of all, in the chat section there in the webinar, you can actually type comments or questions. So if you have any questions whatsoever during the webinar, please share them there. Or if you have comments around your use cases, that'd be great as well. And then I'll try my best to address those near the end of the webinar. And with that, we'll get started on today's webinar topic, which is email management. So hopefully you're here today because you're looking for a better way to prioritize your emails and tasks. And so our focus will be relatively straightforward, which is on the email management side of Matrix. My name is Hai. I'm co-founder of Affluence, the company behind Matrix. This webinar is intended to be a little bit more not an introduction to Matrix because you've probably seen some of our other recordings there. And so we won't be talking about the basics of the application and just the email management side. My goals are pretty straightforward. Help you understand how to prioritize emails and turn them into tasks, how to attach emails into existing tasks, help you understand how to delegate emails and ensure that your coworkers actually get them and work on them, and so you'll get a status update on them, and then how to forward emails into Matrix, how to use Matrix for both Gmail and Outlook, and then create rules so then specific emails are seamlessly added to the appropriate projects. So as you can tell, it's all around emails today. So what is Matrix? It's a comprehensive email priority and project management software to help teams manage emails, conduct efficient meetings, and get real-time status updates on critical projects and priorities. In fact, emails is one of the reasons why customers come to Matrix because that's the bane of our existence in some ways, which is I get so many emails every single day. I get a couple hundred emails, and so I flag them a lot. But I find it extremely challenging to be on top of them. And so with Matrix, I'm able to actually convert them into tasks with actual due dates and reminders and so forth, and that helps tremendously with prioritization. And so I'll try to share some of my best practices with you today as well. And as mentioned, if you have any specific questions, please ask, because that's the best way for me to engage with you and make sure that this webinar is relevant. So what makes Matrix better than other solutions? We're the only one that's only software application that's Microsoft 365 security certified in Outlook, Teams, and web app. We are adding a lot of AI capabilities around project management in general. And then Matrix is also available as part of several solutions, SaaS, HIPAA compliant for healthcare and life sciences, as well as Azure Government Cloud for state and local government. So as you recall, if you started using Matrix already, you see that front and center in Matrix, everything revolves around the 4-quadrant methodology. And that's sort of the philosophy behind Matrix. And so we tend to take everything that you have and we try to fit it into a 2x2 matrix. The most basic fundamental matrix that we have is the Eisenhower matrix. And the way you describe that is in quadrant 1, you have the important and urgent tasks, right? And then quadrant 2, the planned quadrant, are the important but not urgent tasks. So the whole idea is instead of having one long list, just like your emails, right? Instead of having one, email inbox with literally hundreds or thousands of emails in it, imagine if you're able to take that, all of those emails, and actually sort them into these various dimensions. That makes a lot more sense. And that's the point, which is I think that we get really lost in things when it's unorganized, when it's just one list and it's kind of meaningless. And so what happens in such a list is you end up working on the things that are urgent. And what I mean by that is the things that just pops up, right? The last email that you receive is the first email you respond to. That's just how it works. And so the whole idea is how do we actually take control of this and prioritize the emails? And then obviously the next layer to that is how do you actually delegate these emails to other people and then ensure that others also work on the right emails, and then making sure that you actually set due dates and reminders and so forth. So keep in mind that everything that I show you around email integrations pulls back into Matrix and ensure that you actually organize them into these quadrants. The webinars are posted on affluence.com/webinars. And so if you're interested in the other webinars, we also have them there. And then also a side note, tomorrow I'll be doing a webinar on custom templates. So if you have workflows, onboarding processes or whatever that have a lot of recurring tasks, we have pretty advanced capabilities around templates. And so I'll be covering that tomorrow. But as mentioned, the webinar from today will also be posted there. All right, with that, I'm going ahead and jump into Matrix and walk you through these emails integrations. As mentioned, I will not be covering the basics of Matrix, and so I'll be jumping real fast into the email management side. If you have questions around the basic of Matrix, make sure you watch our other webinars. Okay, so as you can see, this is our web app. Front and center is the 4 quadrants. Everything that I have should fit within these 4 quadrants. So let's go ahead and imagine if I have an email that comes to me and I want to organize it into this quadrant. What do I do? I'll go ahead and open Outlook here. When I have Outlook open, this is my list of emails, right? And so Outlook tries to organize it a little bit. You can see, now they have these subfolders called focus and others and so forth, and you can do some sort of organization. But the challenge remains that if you have an email and then you can't respond to it today and you need to ensure that you respond to it later, what do? Typically, you flag them, which is what I do as well. The problem is if it's 5 flag emails, it's fine. It's 100 flag emails, it becomes really, really difficult to be on top of them. So with Matrix, what you can do is you can convert any of these emails into tasks. I'm going to give you an example right here. So let's just say I have an email that I open here. Now I'm on Outlook for web. And in here, I have the option to install an app. And so if you haven't done this already, make sure you do it. Click on the App Store, go add app, and then search for Matrix for Outlook. I have Matrix already installed. I can actually click on this option here. And when I do, I have 2 choices. The first is open Matrix, and the second is prioritize email. And so as you can see, if I click prioritize email, what happens is the right-hand side opens up what's called the item details. The email capture box. And so what that's allowed me to do is actually convert this email into a task. It grabs the subject and makes that the task name. I can edit it, but here's the next part. It actually lets me go and choose what project it belongs in. And so I have a project selected here. I can choose what quadrant. So let's just say if this email is very important and I want to make sure that I know that it's important, right? I go ahead and choose quadrant 1 here. And then we can set a due date for Friday. And with that, if I click capture email, what happens is it opens up what's called the item details. And so now this task has been converted into a task inside Matrix. And then the item details, I have a lot more information I can add to the task itself. So now I set up the task name, right? If I want to make sure that this is important, it pops to the top of my list, I star it. And so inside Matrix, it'll go to the top of each of my quadrants. And then below that, I have ownership, progress, effort, reminders, and due dates. And so you see how the due date is here, but let's just say I want to set a reminder. I can actually go choose a reminder, and then I can choose remind me tomorrow. And then I'll go ahead and choose 12 p.m. here. And so that's how I would set a reminder. Okay. And I actually also can make this reminder recurrence like one time or on a daily basis until I get the task done. And so that's how I set a reminder. And so tomorrow at 12 p.m., I'll get a reminder to make sure that I start working on the stuff I need to do to get this email done. The other thing I can do is actually I can delegate this email to somebody else. So I can go ahead and delegate to a coworker. So now what I've just done is I've taken an email. Instead of just flagging it, I've converted it to a task. I've set a due date for me, and then I set a reminder. There's a big difference between due date and reminder. Let me give you an example. Let's say that I want to follow up with a customer and I want to do that in 2 weeks. But in the meantime, I have to actually do some legwork for it, right? So maybe some research or something like that. So what I want to do is actually when I set a reminder for me to get started a day or a week or something beforehand. So this is how you trick your brain into ensuring that you work on the most important emails. And let me explain how that works. What happens is that we tend to be pulled into the urgent tasks, right? The last email in is the first email out, as I mentioned earlier. So by setting reminders with Matrix, what happens is Matrix will constantly remind you, say on a daily basis or weekly basis. So then it actually becomes top of mind. So then everything that's actually important is always popping up to the top of your list. And so then you actually know that you can, you know that those things are happening and you actually can spend the time and resources on that. So definitely leverage the reminder capabilities and leverage due dates, because that's probably the most powerful thing about Protomatrix, which is ensuring that actually I'm also managing the time dimension, right? Okay, so now I have that, and now within the item details, you can see there's a history of all the changes that's happening, the content of the emails. So as you can see, it actually copies this content of the emails here into the note section. Now, yes, you can also see that, you know, it's sort of just mangled together. But here's the thing, the actual email is also uploaded for me right here in the email. So what happens is my coworker who got delegated this particular email can actually click on this email file and open it on her computer and be able to respond to the customer. So if you have an external email that's coming in and you're converting it into a task with Protomatrix, it ensures that your coworkers can actually see it. But here's the neat part, which is if you had just forwarded this email to your coworker, there's no sense of, you wouldn't have been able to set a due date. You wouldn't have been able to set a reminder. You wouldn't have been able to set subtask, et cetera. And so with Protomatrix, you're able to do all of those things. And not only that, it's in the appropriate quadrant in the appropriate project. Now, let me show you where it looks in my, if I go back to Protomatrix here. You see that task right here? Right here was that email that I just created. And so created the task. This was the item name here, and then from there it's assigned to the person. I have the due date reminders, everything gets synced over into my Protomatrix. And now if I'm on my phone, I'm in Microsoft Teams, I'm on my desktop app, this information is present. And again, if you go to the resources section, that EML file is here. So now let me go back to Outlook for one more moment. So now you've seen how we can actually convert an email into a task. But what happens if you want to actually convert an email into an existing, you want to add the email to an existing task? Well, Protomatrix is the only integration that I'm aware of that lets you do that. Let me show you how to do that. So now let's just say I have the same email that's coming in and it's from, again, a customer, but I already have a task open for that customer, right? And so it's a follow-up. So instead of actually creating another task, what I want to do is actually I want to attach an existing task. So I'm going to click on Open Protomatrix. When I choose to open Protomatrix now, what's going to happen is it lets me search for all of my tasks inside Protomatrix. And so you can see how it actually loads all of these tasks that I have, and I actually can search for the item name here. Otherwise, it'll actually show you the latest tasks that come in. And now what you can do is you can hover over an existing task and choose attach. And so what that does is it actually takes the email and attaches it to an existing task. Now you can also see that you actually get two options. You have the option to link and the option to attach. Attach means actually attach the email itself, and link means to actually just create a link to the email, and so it opens in Outlook. Now, why would you want to do that? It's just a matter of preference, and it's also a matter of email policies and so forth. So when you upload an email into Protomatrix, it actually uploads it into our system, right? And maybe you don't want to upload to our system. Instead, you just want to link it. And so that's how it would work. But if you link it, then your coworker may not be able to open the email, obviously. So that's how you attach email to an existing task. One thing that you also notice is Protomatrix will try to tell you if there are duplicate tasks that already exist for this particular email. So when you create a task from Protomatrix, Protomatrix will go and say, hey, this might already exist. And the reason it's able to do that is because your coworker might be CC'd with you on a particular email. And so if that's the case, our system will go and tell you, hey, your coworker's already converted this into a task. Maybe you shouldn't. So that's part of our intelligence systems that's there to help detect that, to ensure that you're not creating duplicate tasks. So that's how you convert an email into a task using Outlook. Now, let me show you some configuration you can do inside Outlook. If you click on this gear icon here, you can go to settings and you have a couple of choices. First, it uses the message body as item notes. So you saw how earlier it took the body of the email here and added to the notes. You can turn that on or off. Now, the reason why you might want to turn it off is for maybe, again, email privacy. So you're still able to convert an email into a task inside Protomatrix without uploading the email, without uploading the content of the email. And all it does is it actually links back to the email that you have inside Outlook, and then it'll open your Outlook itself, right? You can attach the original message, which means the EML file, to the task itself. And then, of course, you can actually link to the email as well. So these are some of the options that you have inside Outlook. So that's how you get to it. So now let me show you a couple of other things around email integrations with Outlook. Matrix has pretty deep integrations with a couple of other things. So let me show you something called the inbox. So imagine if you create a task, but you don't know what project it belongs in yet, right? You can think of it as like sort of like a catch-all, and that's what the inbox is. So here inside Matrix, I open the inbox. And you see how I have a couple of tasks here for inbox. In fact, by the way, I also use the inbox to create very, very basic tasks. So for example, it's something I want to do, something I want to read, a web page I want to look at, etc. I actually create that task inside the inbox because it doesn't belong in any specific project. And then I can just have it be in this list. And again, this is sort of my catch-all list. But if you go to the inbox, at the very top, you'll notice something called the secret inbox. Now, if you click on this, what happens is you get a very specific email address right here. You see, I can do that. And then if I right click on this, I can choose and copy email address. So this is your secret inbox address. If an email comes to this address, it will show up in your inbox. So let me give you a use case on why you want to do this. For me personally, when I'm on my phone, sometimes I'm browsing and again, I'm looking at my emails, and then some email comes in that's very important, and it can come from any inbox. I have multiple inboxes, my personal inbox, my work inbox. I'm sorry, my work emails, my personal emails, etc. And so what happens is when I have an email that comes in, I want to forward it into my Matrix, but maybe the email is my personal email, but my Matrix is my work email. Well, the secret inbox doesn't care. So what that allows you to do is you can actually create that as a contact inside your phone. And then whenever you have an email that comes in, you forward it into Matrix using that way. So I'll show you how it works. So here, I'm going to go ahead and take an email. Actually, I'll just send a new email here. I'll paste that address that I copied, okay? And then I'm going to say, this is a test email created during webinar. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm also going to say, due today, remind me in 1 week, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm creating a brand new email, but again, this could have been a forwarded email. I'm going to go ahead and click send. So what happens is that by saving this inbox address, I can use it as a place to easily allow me to create new emails from an existing email, new emails, etc. And one thing you'll notice is that I actually, in the body itself, actually type what's called commands. So the way Matrix works is we actually add natural language processing in a couple of different places to make it easier for you to actually set dates and reminders and so forth. So let me show you how that works. If I go back to my Matrix here, oh, by the way, I'll go back to the inbox to show you that the email comes in. It does take a few minutes because it actually gets sent to our system and then gets processed, but it'll show up in your inbox in a little bit. So let me go and jump to an existing project here. So earlier, you saw how I converted this email into a task, and then to create reminders, I clicked on the reminder. One thing I can do too is I can just say, remind me daily in the comment itself. And so what Matrix does is whenever the text turns green here, it means that our system interpreted it as a natural language. And so when that happens, it actually sets a reminder for me. And then I can also say, due in 2 weeks or something like that directly here inside the chat for Matrix. So by leveraging that same command system in the forwarded email, I can set due dates. I can actually set reminders. I can even delegate to other people. So let's go back to the inbox. Let's see if that came in. Oh, there it is. You see how this email came in. This is the one that I just created from Outlook. And because in the notes section here, I said due today and remind me in 1 week, you see it actually set the due date for me, and then in 1 week I have a reminder. And so imagine how powerful that is. If you don't use this already or you're not aware of this, it is so helpful when you're on the go, when you're out and about and you get an email And guess what? You can't just flag them on the phone, especially if you're trying to consolidate and have one central place to organize everything. You simply take your phone, click, open that email, click forward, type, inbox party matrix or whatever it is. And again, that's the name of the contact that you create. My recommendation is to call it inbox party matrix. Because if you type Party Matrix, it might send an email to our support instead, which you don't want to do. So that's why I like to use the name Inbox Party Matrix. And so I would literally type inbox on my phone, and then right in the body, I would say something like these commands: do today, or do in 1 week, remind me daily. I love doing that. And now, when I go back to Party Matrix, it reminds me. So helpful. I use this all the time in terms of capabilities. I think it's one of my favorite. Okay, so that's how the email inbox works. And so you can imagine that same inbox address works in any email system as well. So there was nothing special about Outlook where I had that email inbox address. So let me show you how it works in Gmail then. If I go to Gmail, I can do the exact same thing. I can also save that contact as an address, and then I can say, this is an email from Gmail. Okay, I'm going to say due in 2 weeks, remind me daily. And then I'm going to go ahead and click send. Okay, so now I've just created an email from Gmail as well. But Party Matrix also has the ability for you to actually use our Gmail integration as well. So if you go to Gmail and you click on Get Add-ons, you can choose Party Matrix. And so in this case, I don't have an email that I can open to show you. But when you have an email selected, you can click on the extension here and Party Matrix open up on the right-hand side, allowing you to convert that email into a task, just like what you saw in Outlook. The capability is a little bit it doesn't have as many features as the Outlook integrations due to the nature of Gmail add-ons, but essentially that's how you can do that within Gmail itself. So that's pretty straightforward. So so that's how you can convert any email into a task in Outlook and Gmail. That's how you forward an email into Party Matrix inbox. Now, let's just step back for a second and talk about some other use cases. What if you don't want to send an email to your inbox? Instead, you want to send your email to a specific project. Well, guess what? Party Matrix has an email address for every single project that you have. So let me show you how that works. When I go to my team priorities right here, what I can do is I can go to the project details. And so if you click again on select the project that you have, click on edit project. And now on the right-hand side, this is the project details, right? This is where you can edit information on the project. You can invite people and so forth. And so in this case, you can see that I have 2 team members in this particular project. So let me give you an example. Let's just say if you are working on a project that involves a bunch of external customers, and you have multiple team members involved, and you want to organize all the emails that you get from that customer and put it inside this project. Instead of sending it into the inbox, what you can do now is you can send it to the project itself. If you go to the top right in the project details, there's an option called Get Secret Email Address. Now, what's nice is that you can get an email address that will let you put a task into any quadrant and then also assign it to any person as well. So let me give you an example. Let's say I want to get an address that would go and put an email into quadrant 1 and assign it to Eugenia, and I copy address. Okay, so now what I can do inside Outlook or Gmail or whatever is when I create this task, I have a special address for it. This goes to Q1 and assigned to Eugenia. And so I'm doing this just again as an example, due tomorrow, okay? And I click send. So now what happens is that instead of that email going to the inbox, it actually gets organized for you into the appropriate quadrants as well. So what I can do is I can go ahead and save that particular email and give it the appropriate name, a contact name, so then when I forward the email, I know exactly where it goes. Now, how do you automate this whole process? Let me give you an example. For me personally, whenever I get an email from Microsoft, it actually goes into my Microsoft project automatically. And the way you do that is using rules. So inside Outlook, so let me open Outlook here. So here I have Outlook for desktop open, okay? So if you don't use Outlook, if you use Gmail, if you use other email software, it doesn't matter. They all have rules management systems. So I'll show you how to do that in Outlook though. If you go to Outlook here, in Outlook for, I have it on Mac, but you can do it on Windows and so forth. And you go to rules, you can go and choose create rule. So what happens with rule is that you can go and set all sorts of criteria. For all emails from Microsoft, for all emails from customer X, for all emails from your manager, etc., then what you do is you go down here and you choose forward to, and then you paste the address. That's it. That's all you have to do. And so what that allows you to create is a bunch of rules that automate your entire process. And so then every email that goes from client A, that comes to you from client A, gets forwarded into your Matrix project for client A, and then client B goes to client project B, and so on. And so you just have to set that up as a rule, and Matrix will sort of take that information and put it into the appropriate quadrant for you. So I think this is actually really useful, especially if you want to use Matrix to manage support tickets or to manage requests, or if you are a service where people are submitting forms and so forth, you can use this as a way to convert emails into tasks. And then what happens is, instead of everyone going into Outlook and into your inbox address and look at the emails, they can just go to Matrix and see the tasks that are coming in. And remember, you can assign the tasks to specific people, right? And so if you have multiple customer service rep, you can actually ensure that those reps are actually assigned the appropriate emails based on whatever rules that you set. Okay, so that's how rules work. Now let me show you how to set up the rules inside Gmail. It's very similar. You go to Gmail here. You go to settings, I believe. See all settings. And then you do forwarding. And then from this forwarding, you're able to go and add a forwarding address. And then you paste in the address. Again, then you click next. And actually, I'm not sure. Okay, there you go. Lets me proceed. What happens now is when you choose this in Gmail, it's actually going to create a task inside Party Matrix that lets you verify it. So when you create the rules from Gmail, there's an additional step that you have to follow through. But while I go back to Party Matrix here, I want to show you that email that I sent to my project showed up here, right? This email is go to Q1 assigned to Eugenia. It shows up here, and now from here, Eugenia can see it, and she has a due date, and it shows up in her Party Matrix. And if she has reminders or whatever, it'll pop up. And now you can see that from Gmail here, that just pops in. This is an email that says, allow me to forward it. And pretty much there's a link here that I click on. And when I click on that, it verifies it. And now I can actually set up rules from Gmail to forward any specific emails that you may have. So that's how you set up rules in Gmail. That's how you set up rules in Outlook. One of the things I want to talk about is, how do you ensure that you work on the most important emails always? And so again, this is what I like to do. I like to set the due dates, and then I like to set the reminders. And then what happens is, on a daily basis, Party Matrix will send me a reminders in the home view. So if you go to the home view in Party Matrix, this is called the alerts. And the point of the alert system here is to tell you the things that require your attention. So if you use Party Matrix, you'll see that the kind of tasks that shows up here are things like things that have been delegated to you, things that have a due date that's coming up right now, and also things that have reminders. And so when you have those recurring reminders for specific emails, it'll keep popping up here in the alert section. And by the way, this is how I tackle my problem, which is, I get so many emails, as I mentioned, by setting recurring reminders for my most important emails, time-sensitive emails. It's always popping up here, and then I don't really have an excuse. I'm like, okay, I saw this yesterday. I saw this 2 days ago. I see it today. Then I can click on it. It's like, okay, let me get to it, and finally deal with that. Couple of other things. You notice that actually when these tasks come in as emails, there's an email icon associated with it, right? And so Party Matrix will go and detect emails and actually add this email icon. So if you want to go and find out all the emails you have in Party Matrix, I'll show you how to do that. You can go to the search. What the search does is it's a master list of all the tasks you have across all your projects. But if you go to filter, you can actually go in here and then see all the things that you have across across all your projects, and then you can change it. You can change by due dates, and then due date, who it's assigned to, what quadrant, and so forth. And then at the same time, on the left-hand side here, you can see that actually I can sort by icons. And so when I click on this icon, it actually puts all my emails icons together. And so then, essentially these are all my tasks that have the emails associated with them. And so that's one way for you to be able to go and find all the tasks you have that are related to emails inside Party Matrix. And you know that Party Matrix integrates with Microsoft Teams and so forth. So if you do use Microsoft Teams along with Outlook, what you can do is you can add Party Matrix to Teams, and then you can actually add the chat bot as well. And if you do add the chat bot to Teams, what happens is when those emails become due or you need the reminders come through, the chat bot will also send you a message in Teams. So it adds another layer of notifications to ensure that you actually get to your emails. Okay. So what I've shown you now is, again, how to create emails from how to create tasks from emails, how to forward emails into Party Matrix, how to actually forward emails from Gmail, how to delegate them, how to see reminders. Let me give you some tips on how to best leverage Party Matrix. One, I always set due dates and I always set reminders. And then two, I like using the star. So if you use Party Matrix often and you will have tasks that are really important, star them. What happens when you star them is they pop to the top of the list. Now, of course, if everything is starred, then nothing is, right? But if for your most important emails, you star them, you set the due date, you set the reminders, and you put in quadrant 1, you're going to get so many notifications in Party Matrix, you will get to that email. And then when you don't, the due date here will turn red. And so it's very, very easy and very visual for you to see that. The second thing that I recommend is if you plan to use Party Matrix to organize a lot of emails, you can create a project just for email management. And so then when you go to project here, you create that project and call it emails or whatever. And then you can copy the inbox address for those emails and then save that as your contacts. So I highly recommend that you at least add your inbox address as a contact for both your mobile device as well as on your desktop. So then you have that as a placeholder. But then if you use Party Matrix and you want to organize all these emails into all these other projects, then make sure you save the inbox address for each of those as well. Okay. Now let me see here. I want to make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover here. As mentioned, if you do have questions, make sure that you send them. Okay, so let me go back to the slides here. And so I want to just go back to the goals that we created earlier, or we mentioned earlier, and make sure that I've addressed every single one of these, okay? 1, you understand how to prioritize the email and how to turn them into task. 2, you can see how you can attach emails to existing tasks. 3, you see how I can delegate an email. And then from a coworker standpoint, what happens, they just have to go to their alerts as well. And so the whole goal of Party Matrix is to create one central place to capture all your priorities across your teams and your organizations. So, to fully leverage it, got to make sure that, your coworkers are also using Party Matrix and that, they check their alert section. So then they know that they got an emails that's due, etc. You learn how to forward emails into Party Matrix, and then you learn how to use Gmail and Outlook to create tasks as well. And then you also learn how to use rules so then specific emails are seamlessly added to the appropriate projects. So what happens is I like to set different rules for different use cases. Just make sure that you keep them somewhat organized because if you just are setting every single email into your party matrix, I don't recommend that because that's just too many emails, too many tasks, and then now you just have another inbox, which I don't think is very useful. So it's better to have the rules deal with only your most critical emails. So then you can ensure that you actually get to them. Okay, so let me summarize with this presentation here. So what would success with Party Matrix look like? One, you have this one central place to track all your priorities, and then now also the emails as well. Everyone's on the team understands and are aligned on key tasks. And by using the email integration, and of course you can use it just for managing your own emails, but when you end up delegating the email to others, it's so useful. It's so much better than forwarding them an email, because what happens is then it just goes into their inbox, and then if they don't look at it right away, guess what, it goes down the list, and then suddenly that email is never looked at, and now you have a really important email and no one answered them. But by using Party Matrix, setting that due date, setting that recurring reminders, putting in the appropriate quadrants, there's no excuse for missing that task. And so I do recommend that if you use Party Matrix to manage customer tickets or whatever, then use the system to triage the appropriate person, right? And you have to remind your coworkers and the people you work with that, by the way, like, you look at the Party Matrix project, and that's where the single source of truth is, right? That's the master plan. And so when you look at that, you know exactly what to focus on. And that pretty much summarized what I want to present today on email management. I'm going to take a look to see if there are any questions, and if there are, I'll answer them. Okay, are there any questions? If not a big deal. What I want to mention is that you can always send us a message, hi@affluence.com or support@affluence.com, and I'd be happy to address that. Thank you for the feedback there. I hope this was useful, and I hope you start using the integrations that we have. Again, a lot of customers, most of our customers, come to Party Matrix to look for ways to better manage their emails. And so it's extremely helpful to be able to prioritize that. And it's so much better than having one long list, and flagging is just not sufficient. So thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. Now I'll give you your time back.